you, President John DeGioia, Provost Robert Groves, Dean Joel Hellman, faculty of the Walsh School of Foreign Service, thank you so much for this extraordinary and unexpected honor. Long ago, back in the 1980s, I started a PhD and never finished it. And now, finally, I can call up my thesis advisor and tell him that I haven't been wasting time for 30 years. So thank you. As I say, it's a great pleasure to receive this degree, but it's an even greater pleasure to be able to stand before you today and to pronounce these words. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, grandparents, and friends, and above all, class of 2017, congratulations. Congratulations on everything you did to get here, the 4 times you took the SATs, the prep classes you took in between, and that time you forgot to submit your test scores by the deadline but successfully begged for a reprieve. Congratulations on the many sports you played, the beauty pageants you won, the many obscure interests you maintained while keeping up your high school GPA, and congratulations on judiciously dropping so many of them upon arriving here. Congratulations, more importantly, on what you've done since arriving, the papers you've written, the languages you've learned, the statistical problems you solved, the all-nighters you pulled. Congratulations on staying awake and paying attention to all of it. It can't be easy to go to school in a place as full of distractions as our nation's capital. Since you've arrived, there have been internships to hold and think tank talks to hear, scandals to follow. I gather that Georgetown has some bars. Yet, not only have you convinced the university to give you credit for some of these things, and I mean the internships and not the bars, you have even excelled at them. Some of you maybe will have acquired the ability to walk from a freezing cold, heavily air-conditioned conference room into the blazing heat and damp humidity of a Washington summer day without feeling faint. And that is a skill that will stand you in good stead for many years to come. But congratulations most of all on persevering, passing your exams, finishing your papers, and on finally graduating from the Georgetown University Walsh School of Foreign Service precisely at the moment when graduating from something called a School of Foreign Service has never seemed so inauspicious. When I first started to think about this speech a few weeks ago, it suddenly struck me that every phrase in that title is now under assault in a way that it never really has been before, at least not that I can remember, and I'm quite old. So let's begin with school. To attend a school at any level above high school already indicates that you belong to that sector of society that believes the acquisition of expertise to be important. Not only that, you believe that the acquisition of expertise is so important that it's worth 4 years of time, a lot of real money, and many hours of concentrated effort. Yet you're entering a world in which some people will sneer at the time and the money and the effort that you spent to become educated. And you're entering a world in which a British politician, a cabinet minister no less, recently declared that we've had enough of experts. You're entering a world in which the possession of expertise can even be considered disqualifying. After all, people with expertise are small in number. So it doesn't matter anymore where you come from or how you got here or how hard you worked to get here. You are now part of an elite. And in some places, you might discover that you're part of an unpopular elite. In countries all over the world, in Venezuela and the Philippines and Poland, and even in a few places closer to home, political movements have lately proven that it is possible to win elections by running against unpopular elites. So, congratulations, class of 2017, you are now the enemy. So that takes care of school. What about foreign? That word applies to all of you in different ways. By American standards, some of you really are foreign because you come from foreign countries and you have foreign passports. Those of you with American passports, though, you're here because you're attracted to the idea of the foreign, whether it's foreign languages or foreign issues, or just the seductive pull of the wider world. But few of you, I expect, have felt yourself to be foreign here. The Georgetown School of Foreign Service is an exceptional community, one in which national differences matter less than the books that you read and the friends that you make. And it's a place where everyone is treated equally as a citizen of the world. In many parts of the globe, and indeed some parts of this city, foreigners are not part of the local community. And in many places, national differences will determine whether you are heard or ignored, respected or scorned, included or excluded. This has, of course, always been true. But the return of nationalism to North American, European, and Asian politics has raised the barriers higher. Around the world, people with an interest in crossing borders, in solving international problems, or in doing international business are now treated with suspicion in some places where they were welcomed only a few years ago. The loyalty of internationalists is now questioned. Globalist is now a term of abuse. You can see they're buzzing us. A few months ago, the British Prime Minister, and sorry, but British politicians are particularly quotable on these issues, declared that people who consider themselves to be citizens of the world are really citizens of nowhere. So, congratulations, class of 2017. You are now citizens of nowhere. Finally, of course, there's that word service. And I do realize again that the Walsh School of Foreign Service was never intended to be a one-way ticket to the Foreign Service or any other part of the government. Nevertheless, I don't think any of you would be here at a school that has produced so many outstanding diplomats and public servants if you didn't believe that foreign service and public service are valuable. And you wouldn't be here if you didn't think that there were things to be learned from people who have served their country or the international community or worked for causes that are broader than themselves, because many of your teachers here have done exactly that. But you can see where this is going. Those of you who do want to serve the wider community, whether inside the government or outside it, now have a problem. Because right now, we live in a world in which civil servants and public servants are not universally admired members of the community. Indeed, much of the community doesn't even call them civil servants or public servants, it calls them bureaucrats, as in wasteful bureaucrats, lazy bureaucrats, boring bureaucrats. Given how many people in so many other walks of life are wasteful, lazy, and boring, this is distinctly unfair. But it reflects a broader cynicism about government itself, or maybe I should say, it reflects a more broader cynicism, period. We live in an age of irony and parody and internet memes and Reddit chats and sarcasm. And the idea of devoting your working life to the service of your country or the service of the global community seems passé. So here I go again. Congratulations, class of 2017. You are not only the enemy, not only citizens of nowhere, you don't get the joke. Except, of course, there isn't really a joke. And there is a reason why you weren't laughing that hard. Because you can make fun of it, or you can sneer it, or you can despise it, or ignore it all you want. But government is not a joke. Government, meaning the institutions we have created to provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare, is vitally important even if we don't want it to be. So are the people who work for it, even if we don't like them. You know, the men and women who run the government can determine whether you get an operation that will save your life, whether you can buy a house, whether you will be able to send your son and daughter to a great school like Georgetown. So the men and women who run the government can also stop wars or start them. They can rescue refugees or let them die. They can prevent a terrorist attack before it starts, or they can turn away and let it happen. So politics might seem like reality television, but unlike reality television, politics has consequences for real life. Same is true of those pesky foreigners and those annoying foreign issues. You can't get rid of them by changing the channel. The dissatisfaction with internationalism that has lately flowed across much of the world goes by many names. It can be called populism, or nativism, or nationalism, or nostalgia. But whatever you call it, it's always based on fantasy. Globalization, by which I simply mean a world in which things that happen in one country affect people in other countries, is with us for good. No border walls and no tariffs and no rules are going to make it go away. We might not like the idea of a global community, but we are stuck with it. And we might not want foreigners to influence our culture or our economy, but they do, and they will. Of course, those interactions don't have to be negative. Trade, commerce, diplomacy, and security, these are not zero-sum games. Often, there are mutually beneficial solutions to international problems if only someone had the talent to find them. But where is this talent going to come from? Who will we turn to when the fantasies fade and when we need someone to negotiate the trade treaty or the peace treaty? Who will we turn to when we discover that we need someone who knows Turkish history or South African macroeconomics or Uzbek grammar? Guess what, class of 2017? We're going to turn to you. So I can't predict what will happen in the world during the rest of your lifetimes. In fact, given the nature of the modern news cycle, I can't predict what will happen in Washington in the next 10 minutes. But I do know that whatever problems the world is going to throw at us, either in the next 10 years or the next 10 minutes, we will need people like you, people who have been to schools of foreign service to help us solve them. Waves of cynicism come and go, political moods go up and down, but people like you, people who are curious and interested, people who have the patience to study and the appetite to learn will sooner or later find roles for themselves in schools, in foreign relations, or maybe even in public service. However pointless knowledge can seem in a world that often values other things, always remember this: no intellectual effort is ever wasted. You don't know yet which of the books that you have read here is going to help you solve a difficult problem a decade from now, but I guarantee you that one of them will. And you don't know yet which people you will meet thanks to the language you learned here, but I promise them that some of them will matter to you. So congratulations one more time. Please hug your parents for helping you to get here, and I so look forward in future years to hearing what great things you do next. Thank you very much.